Radio for Skaro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 703. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
It's the last of our last Miniscope, because we did part one of the Toby Whithouse Miniscope last week, and we're doing part two on this here episode. Covering off the stories Town Called Mercy, Under the Lake Before the Flood, and The Lie of the Land. Next week, as you may have seen on our social media accounts, it's the beginning of our Series 11 commentaries with Sage Young. It joins us for the first one for The Woman Who Fell to Earth. And then every week pretty much from there on after, except we're probably taking a break for New York Comic Con, because that is the time that I assume that the BBC might deign themselves to promote the series they're currently shooting. And they are shooting it right now, by the way. There have been some set report photos, which I will not speak of the content here, but they do exist. So they are shooting Doctor Who once again. The entire BBC has not shut down because of Chris Chibnall walking off the set with Jodie Whittaker along with him, and an entirely new Doctor being cast. That has not happened. They're currently shooting Doctor Who right now. But if you are a Patreon subscriber to us, first of all, thank you. And secondly, you can actually start getting these commentaries for Series 11 early, because the first one dropped this past Tuesday, and the second one will drop this coming Tuesday. So you can enjoy those. I think that's the update. I think that's the update for the RFS, what we're doing on this show. Anything else you want to talk about before we get on? There's a lot of stuff. Not necessarily a lot of news, but just a lot of stuff that is coming out here.
According to all this stuff here,
yeah.
Commentaries take us through to November 17th.
You betcha they do.
So
Right before the Holy Days.
Before Doctor Who Day.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So isn't that nice? It's nice to record ahead. This means like for the next 3 weeks, we'll just be recording the massive amount of news that will no doubt be coming out from the publicity-loving Chris Chibnall. He won't say anything.
No, that's true.
No, that's true.
Not a word.
Anyone want to? I don't. Warren, do you have anything to say about D23, which sounds like a ill-made dice? Yes,
it does.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian trailer looks good.
Yeah, it
Not
does.
least because it has Werner Herzog at the end talking all crazy as Werner Herzog does. And
It's got Carl
you can't
Weathers,
not
man.
love Werner
Carl
Herzog.
Weathers.
Carl Weathers. It's got some dude in a Boba Fett outfit. I'm intrigued. Also, the She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and Moon Knight series are happening. I'm a fan of both Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, so I'm looking forward to that.
I do not know what a Moon Knight is.
He's a detective who's also dead or something. I don't know. He's a spooky Marvel villain, basically, or no, Marvel hero
I
actually.
see.
And the
But his character lends itself to TV for sure. So we'll see what happens with the old Disney Plus.
Is that Robin, who's become like a dead person, but instead he's got like some tattoos and is rebelling against Batman, and then he becomes a detective and calls himself Moon Knight? Is that the same person?
Exactly.
Okay.
You've nailed it.
Oh, perfect. All right then.
yeah, Robin, who appears exclusively in Dark Horse Comics. Yes.
Yes.
There's also the confirmation of the rumored Obi-Wan series featuring the
Yes,
return
which I
of
was
Ewan
surprised to
McGregor.
find out, but that will be cool. He's the best. He and Palpatine are the two only good things about the prequels. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we're getting
So let's have a Palpatine series as well.
we're getting more prequels because of that. So prequel, Star Wars prequel, except you have to watch them on Disney.
They're actually sequels, not prequels.
What did you say earlier in the day, Stephen? Prequels, but in TV form.
But on
or
TV
something?
form, yeah. So Star Wars prequels, but as TV series. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, but the thing is, TV is basically cinema with a smaller screen. So
Well,
it's not like we're watching some terrible 70s, adaptation of a film. This is actually going to look like film, but on your TV screen.
So the important question then becomes, when does Watto get a prequel series?
When does he become? Because
Why does Watto know that
thank
prequel?
you,
Come on.
thank you. What happens in between episodes 1 and episode 2? Where does he get that hat? I mean,
I'll
that's
tell you why. There's not enough Republican credits. He needs something more real.
I forgive me for being cynical about Disney Plus, but I am cynical about everything regarding this venture. Just because
I am too, but I'll pay the money.
I'm not.
They got me.
I'm not paying it at all because
For $8 a month, I'll get a pile of Marvel and a pile of Star Wars stuff. Sounds good.
It feels like this like phase 4 because there are 4 phases to this movie franchise.
Yeah, but if you like it, what's the problem? If you actually enjoy these things.
Well, here's the thing, because Disney sold off their properties to Netflix for those other series, and eventually those series like basically had nothing to do with the movie franchise. They were just like, maybe some Netflix series, and then they basically ignored them and pulled them off. And now that they're making their own series on their own network, now like phase 4, like it's not just movies now. Now you have to watch like all these series, and that because
but here's the thing. As a Star Wars apologist, you're going to get this.
No, I'm not. I really am not.
You will.
You
will. I swear you will.
Listen.
3 months from now, we'll see.
I haven't seen the Spider-Man film. I haven't even seen the Spider-Man film, and I am done.
Like, it's $8 a month. Come on,
it's $9 a month. It's $8.99. Don't fall into the marketing.
Well then,
Stephen, how much money did you spend to see The Force Awakens in theaters?
I liked The Force Awakens, and the thing is, here's the great thing: is that the Rise of Skywalker, or whatever it's called, is also going to be in the theater, and then it's going to come out on Blu-ray, and I'll buy it on the Blu-ray.
Well, that's just it. How many months of this service would be paid for by your repeated trips, or by not doing repeated trips to go see the film in the theater?
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't watch anything on Disney Plus because I just want to see the movie. I don't want to see the spin-off series. I don't want to see the
So what you're saying is an old man who doesn't like things that are new on TV.
No, you know what? It's funny. I've been going through a deep dive. I haven't watched any of the movies yet, but I've been going through sort of a renaissance of like learning about the age of new Hollywood, from like 69 to 76-ish, like when Hollywood sort of like broke down and sort of gave the keys to the kids basically and let them run wild and stuff. And
with like the rise of like Lucas and Coppola.
And Hal Ashby.
But most of the guys before that, actually.
Yeah. It was a time of rebellion and creativity that could never be replicated. And I'm fine with that. But what came after it was basically...
But it gave us THX 1138. Nobody wanted that.
Well, what it gave us eventually with, Jaws and Star Wars being really popular is that now all of a sudden the studios wrested control of it and basically says, well, instead of making original movies, let's just make more of the same movies. That's why you got sequels going on in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And why does this surprise you? This is what's happened in Hollywood since the 30s.
I know. Well, for a brief shining moment, it didn't happen. It was kind of nice to watch. And now
because they had no idea.
I know.
And this is happening again, but now they're coming out with more. Listen,
oh.
For $8.99 a month, I'll watch Star Wars and Marvel, and that'll be that. That's fine.
I won't though.
I have nothing against
I don't
that.
want to watch any of the Marvel series.
Well, what point are you proving here?
I don't want to watch any of the Marvel series, and I'm not. I don't care about. It's what Warren. You were saying about how you don't get into like animated Star Wars series. I don't think.
No, I couldn't care less.
I don't think I get into like expanded universe Star Wars stuff. For some reason, it just feels right for it to be on the big screen and the big screen only.
Well,
I'm
4 words: Carl Weathers and Werner Herzog.
sure.
It would depend on the expanded universe stuff. Like if they adapted like the stuff that Tim Zahn wrote in the 90s, for example,
I don't know who that is.
I would
Really?
totally watch that.
Which they won't.
Yeah.
No, of course they won't. But if they did, I would watch that. The animated stuff I've seen.
The list of Marvel stuff, like just like 7 or 8 shows about different heroes. I'm cool with that. I was cool with that before they said they do She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, I would totally see on their own. But adding in Wanda, Vision, and Loki, and Winter Soldier, I'm all for that. I'll see all those things. For $9 a month, sure, I'll check this stuff out.
Did Stephen? Did you watch the Netflix Marvel stuff?
No,
Like
God, no.
Jessica Jones, Daredevil.
No,
Luke Cage.
God, it was horrible.
Daredevil is okay.
I hated those shows. Oh, I was in the room whenever Erica watched them. I said, nothing's happening. Why is it taking 16 episodes for like Jessica Jones and David Tennant to like run into each other? It's like within like 16 square blocks, so they can't find each other. It was as slow as boring as TV.
I just like to point out, and I'm just as guilty as this as you are. we are going to, in a mere 2 weeks, watch All Creatures Great and Small, where nothing happens at all through any of these episodes. And we are going to love every second of it.
We will. I know. What is it about old TV that I just find so...
And I'm no less guilty of that. I will do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm also willing to give these shows a chance.
I don't,
and if I don't like them, I'll just cancel Disney Plus. Who cares?
I really don't care about them, and that's fine. If
but I'll take the $9 gamble.
Really, wow.
And then if I don't like them, I'll get rid of it.
Here
even then, I'm sure there's a free trial period. Anyway.
I doubt it. Here's me rebelling, me standing in a crowded bar with Mo the bartender performing, making flaming Mo's for everyone, and I'm Homer Simpson and go, you just lost yourself a customer, Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I was, what's that, Homer? I can't hear you. You just lost yourself a customer. That's me saying, Disney, you're not getting my $9 a month. Good luck surviving without my $9, Disney. You ain't getting me.
In other words, enjoy your death trap, ladies.
Yeah, exactly. That's a different Simpsons reference that you're quoting there. But no, I am just, I don't know. I feel like the Avengers movie, the last one, was like, okay, it was a good closure. I enjoyed it relatively. Let's end it. Oh, there's more. And it ties into the TV universe. It just feels like a very... this makes, to bring this back to Doctor Who, we are a Doctor Who podcast. I am glad that despite all the audio stuff and the comic book stuff and everything else, that basically audio, like visual Doctor Who, is still more or less restricted to the television series. And in a way, I'm kind of glad we don't have the spin-offs. Like, if we had like Wall-to-Wall Torchwood and Class and Sarah Jane Adventures in the off season or something like that, we'd go, oh God, this is a lot of stuff to get through, I tell you. I can't even, to help plug a current podcast of yours, Warren, I can't even keep up with 2 episodes a week of The Expanse to keep up with your legitimate salvage podcast that you're doing with Chip and Katie and Jen Bird. And so, like, to think of like, oh wow, I gotta watch The Mandalorian, I gotta watch this show, I gotta watch 8 other Marvel's movie series to keep up with the next.
I understand what you're saying, because
coming.
Like, when I get on Netflix, I'm like, Deep Space Nine? Yes, Deep Space Nine. And eventually I'll run out of that and I'll go, you know what, Voyager, is it so bad? Because I just don't want, and apparently I'm not alone, because apparently The Office and Friends are the most popular things on Netflix. And lots of people who are like half our age, we're in their 20s, also watch this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's something there to what you're saying. But I will give it a chance, because I do want to see the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, well, guess what? The Office and Friends are both leaving Netflix in the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
I just want to, in Star Wars' defense, they do have IG-88 kicking ass. So I mean,
well, see, this is also the problem that I have with when does the Mandalorian take place in the timeline? Do they?
It's after Revenge of the Sith and before A New Hope.
Okay.
No, it's after New Hope and it's before Force Awakens.
Okay.
It's in that sort of fallow period.
Okay, so it is a prequel of some sort. It's falling into the BB-8. Not BB-8, the Boba Fett trap, in that Boba Fett was this cool, mysterious character that we saw fleeting glimpses of in Empire: Return of the Jedi, and all of a sudden, the fans seem to like him. Let's put him in everything. He's everywhere now. Boba Fett.
But this isn't Boba Fett. This is a different person.
Well, no, but allow me to get to the point here. And now, IG-88 was this mysterious little robot who was in the bounty hunter scene and nowhere else. He's in one scene in Empire Strikes Back, and he's a legendary character. Well, guess what? Now he's got a whole backstory. Now we see him shooting things. I liked him when he was a big giant metal stick insect in Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. And I think, we could write our own backstory. No, we don't. Now we have a whole backstory.
Excuse me, is he Super Star Destroyer?
That opens
the Executioner?
That opens the door for Dengar. That opens the door for Bosk.
I know.
And
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
MF and Bosk, come on. Bosk's the best.
Sometimes it's just nice to have a character or a storyline to just be its own thing without having to fill it in.
Let me.
You're not wrong, but also I'll watch it.
let me put it this way to you, Stephen.
All right.
So all these complaints about these intertwined Marvel things, basically is is what they've been doing since the 40s, 50s, whenever Marvel Comics was devised.
Sure.
They've been doing it for literally decades.
All right.
They're just now doing it in a medium that's different and you don't have yet.
Well, they're not just doing it, they're doing it properly. They're doing it actually well, as opposed to before when they tried and it failed.
what I'm not that we're kind of circling. Boy, this is a Doctor Who podcast, by the way. If anyone is wondering, we'll get to some Doctor Who later on. What I don't like about this is kind of bringing it back to my 1970s fixation right now is that what blockbusters sort of came out of that, like America for the most part wanted to feel good again after sort of wallowing in their own Weltschmelz for 5 to 7 years, and that's why they went to Star Wars and everything else. But now I feel like Marvel has just changed the game where everything needs to be an expanded universe. I'm thinking I don't want everything to be an expanded universe.
No, it doesn't, because everybody tried to be expanded universe, and the only people who got it right was Marvel.
Well, I know. And now
DC screwed it up.
Yeah.
The dark universe of Universal didn't work. Nothing of it worked except Marvel, because they built it up slowly.
They did, and now they're just like, okay, now it's everywhere. And now everything is tied in together. And I'm just like,
So what you're saying is you don't like it.
I don't like
but
it.
you not liking it is irrelevant, actually.
I know.
He has the whole time said he doesn't want it.
I don't want
it. Yes.
I don't want her to like
True.
it. Yeah.
But that's all about you.
It is about me. I'm not saying I don't like it, therefore it should be banned. I'm not saying that.
Well, you're edging.
So you're not one of the season 11 Jodie Whittaker naysayers. Turn this back to Doctor Who.
No, I quite like Jodie Whittaker and Doctor Who. Actually, it's that's why we're doing commentaries on it. Because I think, well, maybe we wouldn't do it if it's like we really hated that series. Let's watch it again and dump on it for 11 weeks. I don't think we'd do that.
Ugh.
That'd be awful. Perhaps some fans would, but not us. We don't do that. I feel like we're happy-go-lucky about Doctor Who and cynical about everything else except Doctor Who and the Sandman.
You're cynical about everything else. I actually quite enjoy the Marvel films.
I know you do. I don't know. Oh, Chris, what do you think of the Marvel movies? I know you sort of watch them.
I'm not going to say anything so we can go to the actual news list and talk about stuff that we're supposed to talk about, because I'm tired of all this stuff.
This hullabaloo. All right.
I am not going to get Disney Plus because I don't really care. Mandalorian looks cool. That's not enough for me.
Right there, you go.
I'll get it unless you
my better half may decide otherwise, because she is like a massive Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan fan, because her first movie was Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace, yeah.
So
Which is fair. He's the best thing about those prequels.
Yep.
Him and Palpy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. So she might spring for it. I don't know, but it holds no interest to me.
One last thing on Ewan McGregor before I swear we get to Gallifrey One talk and everything else is that I'm just happy that finally there will be a television or movie project for Ewan McGregor to at least use an accent close to his country of origin, because every time I see him now, he's like putting on some fake American accent. Like, why would you take Ewan McGregor, who has the sexiest voice in Hollywood for the past 20 years, and turn him into a Texan for some stupid reason, or somebody from Fargo?
Because he wants a paycheck.
I know, but he's good and stuff. But
yeah, exactly.
You
and gotta get paid. Come on.
Yeah,
he was great in Fargo. Come on.
I never watched him in Fargo.
He's great in everything. He's so good.
He's superb in everything.
Down with Love. Excellent film. He plays an American in that.
Yeah, I know. He's always playing an American. He needs to play not a Scot, because that would be too close to Trainspotting, but playing a British person, playing Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan. Actually, that is mildly intriguing to me, because he played young Obi-Wan. Like, where would his performance be? Is he going to be young? Is he going to be older him, or is he going to be closer to like Alec Guinness? Like, time has moved on. How old is Ewan McGregor now? Like, how old was Alec Guinness?
It says 40s, I think.
50s?
Yeah.
He kept.
Is he 50s? Holy wow.
Is he? I think.
You better
I'll
check.
look this
Will
up.
he say hello there? That's the key. That's the key. Hello there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, he's 48.
He's 48.
48.
Hey, he's exactly my age.
How
more or less.
old was Alec Guinness when he did Star Wars that one? He must have been in his
Older than
50s
that.
or 60s. Okay, so I'm
Late 50s, I think. Yeah.
That would be
He was born in 1914, so he would have been 63.
63. Okay.
62.
Okay, so he's still
62.
quite a ways away from, well, probably 61 when they shot the movie. Anyway, quite a ways
So
away from where Ewan McGregor
He's better
is.
than a decade older than McGregor.
Yeah, but still, it'll be fascinating kind of to see where McGregor is in relation to his performance, given that he's only about 12-ish years.
But also, you look at McGregor at Revenge of the Sith, and he looks relatively youthful. And then you see him in Star Wars, and he's old as hell. What happened in those 20 years?
a lot.
Hence the series.
I bet you he drank with what's his name? Owen.
Walrus Face? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Walrus Face and Owen, they all got drunk together. And Gonk would drink with them.
Droid. See, to bring it back to my other point, and then we will get to Doctor Who, I swear, is that this is another thing. I miss it when Kenner Toys made up the names of these Star Wars characters and they didn't have backstories. They were called like...
Well, Gonk was made up of the internet.
Snaggletooth.
It was just the Power Droid before that.
That's right, he was called the Power Droid, but we had Snaggletooth and Squidhead and Hammerhead because it looks like he's got a hammer for a head. I guess we'll call him Hammerhead. No, he's like Quan Bibger.
So what you're saying is you're pining for the ancient days of incompetent idiots at the Sears catalog coming up with the names.
Yes,
okay.
I am exactly that, Warren. Exactly that.
Some yokel in Wisconsin or wherever said, I think he's a hammerhead, and it became the catalog and it was canon.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
brilliant.
decades later, Sears almost went out of business.
They did.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Specifically because of that.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Hasbro bought Kenner, and then Hasbro has also, for some reason, bought Entertainment One in Canada for $4.5 billion. Entertainment One, which used to buy up every single Canadian broadcasting entity in Canada, is now owned by an American toy company.
Sort of on a related thing. I think it's finally happening that space is rebranding to
September 12th.
CTV
All the CTV channels are rebranding to their various...
Well, it's about time they sounded stupid.
CTV Sci-Fi is what it's going to be called. That's 5 syllables with 8 letters.
Really rose off the tongue as compared to space.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, space was originally Space, the Imagination Station. So I mean,
Well,
yeah, but everybody ignored Imagination Station.
We never said that. Come on. You know,
it was true, yes, but we ignored it.
You know, like Superman is originally Superman, the guy who could fly really fast. That was the full name in Action Comics issue number 1.
Not the full name
that
at
was
all.
exactly it, yes. Yeah.
I know.
All right, I hate to be the person saying this, but let's get this back to Doctor Who, shall we?
Gallifrey One, other podcasts over 703 episodes would have edited out the first 25 minutes of this podcast. Not this one. We go on. We move on. It's happening live as you hear it. Gallifrey One's coming next February. Wouldn't you know?
We are under 6 months away now. Yep.
Wow.
Good, great.
Yeah, flights have not dropped. The prices for them...
They haven't.
I haven't.
Stupid things.
It's really unfortunate.
I keep looking. But
I sign up for Hopper. Do you have Hopper,
Yep.
Chris? Yeah,
I'm
you do.
using Hopper.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
believe me, I use Hopper.
Okay, yeah, I got an alert like 2 days ago. Still wait a little longer. It's really expensive to fly like 3 hours south. Anyway,
Not here, not in Hollywood North.
yeah, I know. The first guest announcements will happen soon, probably before the end of the month, maybe in the first part of September, perhaps. But the first major guest block will occur. This often sort of spurs on interest with the convention. So even though they're about 90% sold right now for tickets, which has not happened, I think, since like for the past 5 or 6 years, I imagine that tickets will probably sell out after that first guest block. Once now people say, "Oh wow, they got this person."
Yeah.
So if you're thinking of going, I'd say give it a week. Give it a week. Think, yep, maybe you should go. Maybe you've been holding off a little long, and so yep.
Or just buy the tickets. Buy the tickets so that if other people are rushing to get them and they do finally sell out, you don't miss out.
True, very true. If you're still thinking about going, there is a programming questionnaire on the Gallifrey One website where you can, fill out. Chris, do you know what this is all about? The Gallifrey One questionnaire. Have you had a look at this?
For panel, putting yourself forward for panels as much as anything.
Right.
Or the academic track, or the attendee led side of things.
Right.
Because they're revamping things. So it used to be they'd Sean and the team would come up with, hey, let's do these panels, and then source people to fill them, and then now they're kind of trying to do it the other way and get submissions and find good fits at the outset. And
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Because there are fewer programming tracks because it was jam packed last year. I think it was
They're
five
dropping a full track. Yeah,
back to four tracks with the fifth sort of for group meetups and science workshops and all that stuff. So video programming, the video room is gone. I think we mentioned that earlier on this podcast because it's
except for special events,
special events, but the all day like viewing thing because that is really a thing of the past. It's now officially a thing of the past. So those are some changes. The programming itself will begin at 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. There'll be the occasional evening event, like the Interslanted Variety Show, for instance, and the fan mixer, and then karaoke, of course. But yeah, instead of and then Saturday and Sunday will be 10 a.m. as well. Until 6. So instead of like these 7 or 8 p.m. panels, they won't be those anymore. So you can actually have some supper and perhaps enjoy the experience of being in LA with a bunch of your friends, both new and old. So there's even a map. I love maps. There's a slight layout change when it comes to all the rooms and stuff. So all this and more.
One of the changes for the rooms I'm looking forward to is the meetup room is going to be a larger space. That's because good. I don't tend to have time to go to that to go to as many things as I wish I might like to. But I know for us and for Verity, the meetup space was more than overflowing.
It was a bit full.
This is one thing that is lousy about, and this isn't Galley, this is any convention, is if you're trying to go to a thing and the room is full, either you're like, oh, it's full, I'm just going to go to something else, and it's going to get all bummed out, or due to like fire regulations or whatever, there's going to be somebody at the door saying, no, you can't come in, and stuff like that. So if there's a bigger space, more people, fewer people turned away, that's good.
It is good. Very good. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for the internet for the guest announcement and other things, because that's really the first sign of fall. Well, actually, it's not. There's a lot of first signs of fall when it comes to us here in Canada. For me, it's hockey season is around the corner, which is always exciting. But when the summer ends, I feel is like when that first big Galley guest announcement, and then I start looking forward to Gallifrey One again, which is nice because it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, one of the things they're going to try to do this year as well is, at least for the main stage, is if needed and if possible, have an ASL interpreter.
Yes.
To let those who have difficulty hearing know what's going on. So if anybody is in need or want of such services, and you already have a membership, then put your hat in the ring about what you need for accessibility stuff. And on an audio only podcast, maybe we're the wrong people to make that suggestion. But but yeah, no. If yourself or somebody you know is in desire of that service, apparently it can be a very expensive thing. So they want to make sure that it's something that they can be delivered upon as needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good point, Chris. Thank you for adding that. It was cool actually at Convergence in Minneapolis. They had people on request basically to do ASL for hard of hearing guests. So yeah, it's a neat thing. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool watching. I've seen them at like concerts. Sometimes they have ASL people doing at the concerts.
There's lots of stuff you can see out there on the internet, like death metal concerts and stuff. And there's some like sign language interpreter person is rocking out and doing the lyrics.
Yeah, and they're dancing too. That's what I like when they get into it. Probably not so much like headbanging and dancing and lyrics and stuff at Doctor Who panels, but you never know.
I went to Dominic Lynn's concert. You never know, right?
That is a good point. Very good point. Other Doctor Who events next weekend up at Derby at the Quad is Hooverville. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, get them now and head up on the old train there. It's happening on Saturday the 31st, which sounds like it's going to be a grand old time with a whole host of great guests. That's happening. Also October 5th. Thank you. At Guildhall where's that? Is it in London?
Bath.
Bath, of course, it's at Bath, the Children's Literature Festival in Bath. There's a Doctor Who panel. Joined two universally acclaimed Whovians, author David Solomons, who wrote The Secret in Vault 13 last year, and The Maze of Death, and they put down and cosplayer Crystal D. I feel she's done more than just cosplaying. She's
done way more.
Helped write a couple books. Helped basically. She's moved on from
hosted their fan show
for the fan show. She's moved on for the BBC now, but she used to be the curator of the Doctor Who.tv website. She'll be there as well. So they'll both be talking about Doctor Who and Daleks and TARDIS and stuff, all that fun stuff that we like to talk about. So if you're in Bath, October 5th, tickets are £8 sterling. To head along to that. So there you go, some Doctor Who events that are happening. And I mentioned New York Comic Con too, and that's a thing that's coming up too in the first weekend of October in New York, where we anticipate and assume and indeed hope as podcast programmers that there will be some hefty amount of Doctor Who content there. Where are we at now? Hey, Doctor Who magazine came out. It's all about writers. This one's right up our alley. They do a deep dive with a bunch of new series writers, or modern series. I shouldn't say new series. Do you know the modern series of Doctor Who will turn 15 next March?
Don't even remind me.
15 years.
We're almost at the Horror of Fang Rock.
We are past the halfway point of the new series. If the new series was the classic series, if that makes any sense, it's madness. A whole bunch of writers for the modern series: Paul Cornell, Sarah Dollard, Matthew Graham, Peter Harness, Pete McTighe, new showrunner Pete McTighe, Stephen Moffat, James Moran, Rona Monroe, who of course has written for both Robert Sherman and Toby Whithouse, talk about all the contributions and stuff of various classic series writers. It's chock-a-block full of neat things. This came out on Thursday. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I eat stuff up like that. So check it out, Doctor Who Magazine, issue 542 in magazine shops now.
Or, the digital download, which is so much easier.
It is really easy. Instead of waiting till November, basically you get Doctor Who Blu-ray sets sooner than you get Doctor Who magazine in shops here. Not saying something. There, in that same Doctor Who magazine, there's a preview of the season 23 box set, because it'll come out by the time the next Doctor Who magazine comes out in the UK, but not here. We have to wait till December. We haven't got the season 10 box set yet. Haven't got it at all.
No.
What do you think of that? I mean, we'll get the David Tennant Blu-ray box set coming out September 17th. If you wanted that, that's coming out in North America. I wonder if that bumped it. I wonder if it'd be, no, you know what? Instead of releasing old Doctor Who, let's instead release David Tennant up res Blu-rays instead, and then bump the stuff that really is brand new to later. But anyway, the David Tennant Blu-rays come in September 17th. You can order on Amazon if you want. We mentioned, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago now? I want
to say 3 weeks.
B&M.
Because 700 was the Valley of the Dollies or something.
That's right, it was. Action Dollies. All the they announced a whole host of classic series Action Dollies. And we saw the unboxing video and the official photos and stuff. Well, the great site that is merchandise, the Doctor Who site, .co.uk, which we often refer to when it comes to upcoming merchandise with Doctor Who, has done basically a deep dive and a comparison to new models, comparing them to past models. Warren, have you had a chance to look at these? Because this here,
I have, and it's variants on a theme. Really, it's kind of numbing at the end, because it's this doctor has not mud on him, and this doctor does have mud on him, because that's when he regenerated. I'm okay, but so if you need these, if you're a completionist, which I'm not, then this is the site for you.
Aren't you?
If not, then
I feel like maybe you are a bit of a complete. Actually, you're not really completionist.
No.
You buy it more for props. You think what this would look good in a bookshelf doctor. That
I'll buy stupid ones. I bought the Mox of Valhoon actually at your insistence.
Yeah.
because he's that dumb.
It was $5 too, or something like that. But
and that too, yeah.
But these are not dumb. These are pretty great, actually. they compare like the two, the Shada TARDIS to the previous one, as you say, the dirt, the Colin Baker regeneration figure, the
Which, if you got to have them, great.
Yeah.
It's not my bag, but okay.
The comparison of the various Perry releases, which now that I look at that, one of them really does not look like Nicola Bryant.
Oh, which one?
Maybe even two of them. The one in the pink, the Attack of the Cybermen outfit, does not look like Nicola Bryant.
It's odd that
some of the other ones do.
It's odd that the Vengeance of links in the show notes, by the way, radiofreescar.com if you want to look along at this. The Vengeance on Varos one and the Attack of the Cybermen is essentially the same outfit except different colors. You would just assume they would just repaint it, but they're
practically inverse. Other than she's got the bracelet and one and not the other. But
yeah. I've always liked Perry's headband in the Two Doctors. That weird little kind of like that headband that's going on. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Which is part of the action figure.
It is. It certainly is. It also compares the 4 different Sontarans, which is neat.
This Derek Deadman one is just freaky looking.
Yeah, and accurate. And 100% accurate because the real one's freaky looking. Compares the Two Doctors, second Doctor with the Androgam version. There's a comparison of the different coats, the slightly lighter coat of the 7th Doctor with the Silver Nemesis set, and the three different War Doctors. I didn't know there have been 3 different ones. I only have the one, the oldest one, I guess. And there's been 5 McGanns. There's been 5 8th Doctor figures in this crazy mixed up world of ours. So that's quite something too. You can look at them all. You can look at them all. Links in the show notes at radiofreescar.com. This episode is not brought to you by BBC Audio, but here we are pimping their stuff for free, I guess. The upcoming in August and September, and indeed October, there's some stuff coming. There's the resurrection of the Daleks audiobook, is read by Terry Malloy, who of course played Davros in that story. That's coming out. It's available now, in fact. There's also Terminus, the expanded version by Stephen Gallagher, which is read by Stephen Pacey, who was not in Doctor Who. So
I didn't look up Stephen Pacey, but the name did not ring a bell.
Well, he played what's his name, Del Tarrant in like 7. The show that you've never seen before. So obviously that's why you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
So he reads that. There's also the collection 2 of the Lost TV episodes from 65 to 66, basically season 3 of Doctor Who, most of which, of course, is missing. That's available now. The Seeds of Doom, read by Michael Kilgariff, who was not in the Seeds of Doom. So
no,
not there.
Or anything that Tom Baker did. No, I guess he was in Robot. Sorry, never mind. I take that back.
He was the giant robot. That's right. Yeah. That's probably that's probably the link they said. Who was in Doctor Who with Tom Baker in a story shot on videotape? It was Michael Kilgariff, because both Robot and Seeds of Doom were shot on videotape. That was the criteria. That's how they decided. So that's happening. And then coming in October and November is The Flight of the Sun God. A 6th Doctor original is read by Nicola Bryant, written by Nev Fountain. Scent of Blood, an 8th Doctor novelization by Andrew Lane, read by Dan Stark. He's great. Dan Stark, he's great as Strax. He's reading that. Terry Malloy will be reading the Revelation of the Daleks one with Dalek voices by Nick Briggs. And then John Colshaw, Fraser Hines, Dan Starkey, Louise Jameson, and Nicola Bryant will read Doctor Who, The Sinister Sponge, and Other Stories, the Doctor Who audio annual coming out in November. So there's all the stuff from BBC Audio, who no longer pay us money to read about their stuff, but we talked about it longer than we did in the ads. How about that?
Unless they do so again, yeah.
Yeah, and then Doctor Who and the Image of the Fendal, the 4th Doctor novelization, as read by Louise Jameson, who is just wonderful, and written by Terrence Dicks. The great, legendary Terrence Dicks is also coming out in February of 2020. That's just next year, so that's coming out there too. Whole bunch of audiobook stuff coming down the pipeline. Speaking of audio...
Actually, one thing I hadn't seen elsewhere, just to throw it out there, in the frequently bought together section, it shows Dragonfire, which is due in December 2019. So
wow,
that wasn't formerly part of the news list, but it is now.
It is now. As written by Ian Briggs, who has a three-part
thing
Who's
with
Round.
Toby Haydock. Yeah.
Who's Round, yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
I've listened to all three.
Oh, I have. They're in my backlog. It's nice that they're back. I mean, I think they're only around for like Toby's got like the short round. Not short round. He's not talking to short round from Indianapolis, Indiana Jones rather.
Indianapolis Jones.
Indianapolis Jones.
The famous archaeologist.
Narrow it down. Indianapolis was the cat. Indiana was the dog.
The dog, right? Yes.
Toby's doing a last, basically getting the last few of them out before maybe he puts it to bed. But let's face it, there's new stories happening all the time, and he's going to have to get anecdotes. That's the way Toby works.
Ian Briggs went to Toby and requested to be part of it. So
did he really?
Yep, that's mentioned earlier in the first part.
That's quite something. God, I wish we had a Doctor Who career of some renown that we could do the same. Hey, Toby.
Speaking of Dragonfire and Ian Briggs, I'll not give the spoiler away, but there is a certain Easter egg on the Dragonfire cover that is specific to Toby Haydock.
On the Dragonfire cover?
Well, the Target novelization, possibly also this other cover I'm looking at for the audio thing. I don't know, but for the Target novelization, for sure.
I'm going to assume it's the audio one, because if there's a reference to Toby Haydock on the Dragonfire novelization, which came out like 1988, I would be supremely.
There is.
What?
There is.
Yeah, I would be a little surprised
There
too.
is.
Wow.
Listen, and you'll find out, or I'll tell you after we're done recording. Whatever.
Well, I do want to listen. Maybe don't tell me, but all three episodes are in my queue, so I do want to listen to that. It's a Big Finish, the company that recently celebrated 20 years of Doctor Who. They have some more stuff coming out. The Sixth Doctor and Perry box set, which is coming in August of next year, 2020, set after the Trial of a Time Lord and the Big Finish Adventure of the Ronnie Leet. So the Sixth Doctor and Perry after the what? After the Trial of a Time, but we.
How's that work?
I don't know.
It doesn't.
I don't know. You got to listen to find out. There's 4 stories in that box set, and it's all coming out in August of next year. As I said, there's also a new 12th Doctor Chronicles coming, not with Peter Capaldi. No, it's with Jacob Dudman, who does impersonations of Peter Capaldi. That's coming out in February of 2020. And then the Countermeasures team, this is kind of cool. The Countermeasures team, of course, from the Remembers of the Daleks, they have their own audio series from Big Finish that basically more or less set the years gone by since Remembers of the Daleks. They have one called the Mavellan Maneuver. Mavellans in audio form versus
presumably
Daleks.
on Earth.
Oh, well, I assume. I don't think the Countermeasures team.
It's on Earth.
Yeah, it's on Earth. And then also the Dalek Gambit, which I assume ties in because, of course, the Dalek and Mavellan War, which is very bloody and very awful for both sides, is taking place there. So that's coming in. The first one is coming in April of next year, and the second one in May. And then this is exciting news. The last bit of news before we finally get to the Miniscope. You, enterprising young writer, or perhaps old writer who's never written for anything before, or perhaps just wants to get your foot in the door somewhere, you could write an adventure for the next Bernice Summerfield and Unbound Doctor set. They have a contest, links in the show notes. You basically have to provide a single-page synopsis and a 3,000-word sample of the script by September 20th. 2019. You can even, but if you're not going in blind, you can download an asset pack which includes like advice, storyline sample, and a template, as well as the full list of terms and conditions and stuff. So like if you feel like you're going to maybe go outside of the realm of stuff that you need, all will be explained in there, all those guidelines. So links in the show notes. Check it out. If you ever wanted to write for the audio expanded universe of Doctor Who, to take it back to our first topic, you can do that thanks to Big Finish. So get your ideas in now. Without further ado, that's the end of the news list. So it's just time enough now to talk about Doctor Who writer Toby Whithouse in the Miniscope.
Could be a theme park for the future. Or it might be inside a miniscope.
Oh, shut up.
A miniscope, yes, of course, why not?
Yep. Here we go. This is it, folks. The very last Miniscope of the year. That means that summer's almost over.
Part 2.
Part 2. That's true. Second part. But it means that the fall is on its way, which means new Doctor Who is around the corner. Still a ways away. New Doctor Who. So we'll talk now about almost new Doctor Who, and that it's the second half for Toby Whithouse Miniscope, where we discuss A Town Called Mercy, Under the Lake, Before the Flood, and The Lie of the Land. And it was up to Chris to watch A Town Called Mercy, I believe. Is that right?
That is right, yeah.
Yeah. What was your overall impression of this one this time around?
I seem not unlike last week talking about Vampires of Venice. I seem to remember not enjoying it so much the first time, but every subsequent time watching it, getting a little more out of it and enjoying it that much more. One of the things I was kind of focusing on this time was the morality tale that the story becomes. Because if nothing else, so Series 7A, as we probably talked about back in the day for the Chibnall Miniscope for dinosaurs and
Power of Three,
black box one, yep. 7A was set up to be this like cinematic, massive scope, like looking super awesome, chunk of Doctor Who.
Mini blockbusters, basically, for 5 weeks to sign off for Amy and Rory
for its 1 month of of autumn 2012, and this one, this is admittedly more down to Whithouse and the cast, or sorry, not Whithouse, Saul Metzstein, who directed it, and the cast, as well as the standing Western set they used in Spain.
Right.
But man, this thing looks beautiful, just so gorgeous. I look forward to properly talking about Saul Metzstein's work on this at some point, whenever we get him in the Miniscope in 2033 or whatever. But like I was saying, the one thing I was trying to like just wring the most out of in this was the morality tale that it develops into, because we have all these Western trope city is the phrasing I wrote in my notes. So we've got like the Undertaker taking measurements of the victim, which, wow, okay, to be fair, the only time I remember that was from Back to the Future 3. But nevertheless,
which in and of itself was a Western trope city as well.
Yeah, they walk into the saloon, and the whole saloon takes notice of when they do that. The Doctor, sidles up to the bar and orders the strong stuff. Tea, leave the bag in.
Right.
And like, so, instead of sarsaparilla or whiskey or whatever would otherwise get ordered. They get carried out of the saloon. There's the whole mistaken identity thing. The out-of-towner becomes the marshal. The gunfight at high noon. Like, this thing is like just dripping with Western stuff. And
stuff.
I mean, and it's there. It's there. It's not like it's there accidentally, obviously, but it does add a layer to things, I suppose. But I really, really dug the whole Calor-Jex thing this time around, because it's like, they get into town and they don't really know what's going on, and they're introduced to Isaac, Isaac,
yep.
the marshal, what's his butts from Farscape, Ben Browder. And then the Doctor does these deductions that only the Doctor would do, and figures out that there's this other alien doctor, and he wants to know who it is and learn about him, whatever. And Isaac talks about all the positive stuff, like the Calor-Jex curing cholera so that nobody died when the outbreak hit the town, and all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of have this 180, because when the Doctor finds Jex's ship and starts looking through all the personal log stuff, and you find out what he's really like, all this stuff that this character development that's been presented to you is all of a sudden, for all intents and purposes, out the window, except Amy and the Doctor start butting heads over Jex.
Right.
And Amy's just trying to focus on the good, and the Doctor's trying to focus on the bad, and then it's bringing out the worst in them and all this kind of stuff. And it's interesting that it's a reminder there's always more than one side to a story. And until or unless you happen to know, until you can get that 360 degree look around things, you don't truly know what you're working with. And I like that it caused this conflict between the Doctor and Amy, because it just felt so organic. Like if a normal regular person were in this situation, you can totally see them coming to the same sort of, butting heads thing, and it worked so darn well.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you liked it a lot better, is what you're saying.
I did like it a lot better. I have way more notes than just that, but that was the thing that including some negatives, but that was the thing that I was just that just kind of grabbed hold of me this time around, and just made it that much more interesting and enjoyable. There's a lot of other stuff, but I want to let other people get some words in here.
It's funny when, I don't think there's any way that you can make a Western now unless you are setting out to make a Western without basically just being an homage of Westerns.
I think the last guy to pull that off is Unforgiven, because that is very much an anti-Western in a lot of ways, made by the guy who built the quintessential Western.
Exactly. Like, I feel like the Western's dead just because I don't think there's, I don't know what else new you can do with it. If people say, oh, well, Tarantino did Django Unchained. Come on, every single one of Tarantino's movies is an homage to something.
To several somethings.
To several somethings throughout the course of a way too overlong movie. Where so watching, I don't watch many Westerns, but I like probably all the few of them that are actually referenced in this story. So it just always feels like they're doing a bit. So you just sort of have to do this. It's funny how the prototypical soundtrack of a Western now isn't like probably what they were for John Wayne movies. It's Ennio Morricone's score and the Sergio Leone movies. Like, that is what Westerns are supposed to sound like. And so Murray Gold, he jumps in on it too. So there's always that little bit of it, which kind of makes me think, well, if I want to watch an homage to a Western, maybe I'll just watch the Western instead, because the thing about those movies, the Leone movies, is that perhaps a little too much, they breathe. There is so much dead time in that.
There's a lot of time, which he's really good at, but yeah.
It's so good, because then when the action happens, it's just like bam, like the opening sequence of Once Upon a Time in the West, which I think is his best movie, is like 15-20 minutes long, and then it ends with like a gunfight, and it's boom, 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 it's over. And that's how it would be.
It's so different from how things are now. Like, everything has to be crammed in, because nobody thinks. That's changed a little bit, because people are realizing you can actually stretch things out a little bit.
Yeah.
But movies generally like that. This is about 10 years later. But if you watch Close Encounters, it takes forever to get going. But it works because it takes forever to get going. The Godfather, same thing. You got this wedding that just goes on and on. But if you take that wedding out, that movie doesn't make any damn sense.
None.
So it's, and part of it is, you don't have to they couldn't put a pile of CG stuff into stuff, so they had to go around different ways to do this stuff, and that's how you do it, is through the time-honored use of tension, and film is playing with time, and that's what these guys did.
Yeah,
I don't know how we got on this from Town Called Mercy, but okay.
Well, because you can't do that with Doctor Who. It's just
True.
It's not the venue for such a thing. And so whenever Doctor Who sort of does homages to slow, ponderous, but then sudden action material, but has to remove the slow, ponderous nature, I feel like they're removing a little bit of the charm and the essence of what they're actually spoofing. And so whenever I watch something like this, and I suppose to a lesser extent Robot of Sherwood, because I like the Robin Hood legend so much, I feel like they're just sort of like painting it with sort of fairly faint broad strokes and not really getting into the meat of the Western. And then there's the for the most part the the accents are not the best. Let's face it. Apart from Ben Browder, who is actually American, and Garrick Hagan, who plays the Undertaker, who is Canadian, those are the best accents. But like, there's a couple other ones that sort of sound like that, that are just sorry.
I mean, it goes back. It's an homage to the Gunfighters. There you go.
Maybe that's an homage to the Gunfighter. So I'm always
Tallulah 3 L's.
Yeah, I'm always kind of taken out of it a little bit with this story in that regard. I suppose it does help that they actually shot the thing in Elmira at that standing set where they basically shot, I think, a fistful of dollars, I think, or some of those. But as a whole, I don't know. I never think too highly of this one, perhaps because Ben Browder, who was like great at it, like dies literally halfway through the episode. I'm thinking, why would you do this to Ben Browder? He's the best American actor in here, as in the only one. And it feels like he was the one thing that was sort of grounding it. And then all of a sudden we're left with this sort of fey alien and this cyborg and the Doctor and the companions, and suddenly it doesn't feel like a Western anymore because the characters who we got used to and who ground us in that world are no longer the main core characters of the episode.
It feels like Red Dwarf is a Western. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bunch of aliens in a Western setting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, as the Marshal, Ben Browder's character is kind of the moral center and needs to be and delivers as such and all that. But yeah, one of the negatives I brought up on my notes was the plotting to this is very unbalanced. Like it's just the weighting is just all off. As much as not only because Isaac dies at half or 2/3 of the way through the thing, but by the 17-minute mark or something like that, the Doctor has been in Jex's ship. He knows everything that's going on and doesn't share it with anybody, at least not enough of it with anybody for the rest of the episode. So you feel left out. And but I don't know. I mean, there's still even after Isaac's death, there's still the bit where the townspeople, the Doctor's been made the Marshal. The townspeople are like, we know Jex is in prison. The gunslinger's coming for us at noon tomorrow. We don't want to die. How about you go take a little walk? And when you get back, your problem's going to be fixed for you. And the Doctor, boom, right into that moral center role of the Marshal. And he's like, not going to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything else on this one? You had a lot more notes on this one. I just didn't want
I had a few other notes. As far as again, it's all on the whole theme of morality. There's the Doctor wielding a gun. He's got it in Jex's face. He cocks back the trigger. That is so undoctorish. And even before that, there's the conversation with Amy where he talks about regretting his past mercies with Daleks and Master and so on, where he regrets not being harsher. So now he's going to make up for that by killing Jex, or at least leaving for the gunslinger, or whatever he had in his mind. But yeah, it's just such a strong theme in it, and it I don't know, really resonated with me this time around. Not unlike Vampires of Venice, we have a explosion sacrifice to save the day when Jex finally decides that he needs to, let his past catch up, and he goes and invokes the self-destruct on the ship.
Right.
The whole Three Amigos defense of the town, I could have done without that. I really could have done without that. I mean, we had it already. And the Three Amigos, for crimety's sake.
Right. Which in and of itself was a spoof on a spoof of a Western, and so it's spoofing the spoof now, basically.
Yeah, how many degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing do you want with that? But that said, there's the going back to the bit about the townsfolk wanting to, have the Doctor take a walk, and they'll fix the problem for him. The little kid that the Doctor strikes up a conversation with, he's like, "How old are you?" It's like, 19 next year. He's like, okay, 18. So you're too young to fight in the war. You've never killed anybody. You don't know anything. You don't know anything from anything. But at the end of the episode, the Doctor's about ready to go into the TARDIS, and he has this fun little gun showdown, draw kind of thing with the kid at the end, and that just felt so damn charming.
was wondering where you're going with that there, but I'm glad you were charmed by that little scene, that little ragamuffin. Basically, he realizes he's a kid after all. I'm just gonna play pretend guns. Essentially, is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Warren, any thoughts on this one?
No,
here?
I mean, I haven't watched it in a while, and I remember liking it well enough. But Chris is not wrong about anything he said at all. Like all that is, it bugs me too when the Doctor knows everything ahead of time and doesn't tell anybody, like McCoy. So when I see 11 do it, I'm not happy about that.
Right.
But it does actually make it feel unbalanced too. Really, like it's like, well, why are we watching him go through the motions here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anything left on this one before we move on? You got more notes there, Chris, or is that
No,
that pretty much sums everything up? Yeah.
No, I had all my stuff. Setting looked great. I don't know if it was Whithouse or Moffat who had the whole, his name is Susan and he wants you to respect his life choices line, but damn, that resonated with fans.
Especially with you, Chris.
Yeah, I think you quoted it a few times of the subsequent years.
Oh, yeah, but it
The near
definitely
decade since.
definitely was not just me. Yeah, and I'm not that big a Western fan, and it's some of the Western centric, or not Western centric, some of the stuff that I guess the tropey, the stuff that's in every Western. Yeah, I liked it this time around. So.
Oh, looks like we caught you at a good night, basically, Chris. This is nice.
Possibly.
We've that's two Toby Whithouse stories in succession that you have thought sort of ill of earlier, relatively, and then have come around on with both this and Vampires of Venice. So we'll see if that happens.
However,
with the third
Under
story.
the Lake and Before the Flood, I still consider my favorites from Series 9. So
Well, you were not allowed to watch that. You were verboten. Perfectly.
I watched it a few months ago when I got the Peter Capaldi complete Blu-ray set.
Right.
So it's I haven't watched it since then. It's only been a few months, but I definitely did not watch it for this.
I know you were allowed to watch it, of course, but Warren watched those two.
Indeed, I did.
The two-parter, the very different two-parter, the very Moffat-esque two-parter in a way, and so far that it takes like episode 2 is sure it's a direct sequel, but the Doctor's actually in an entirely different time zone at that point,
which is interestingly played with, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Warren, your thoughts on this two-parter here?
Both these two. Okay. Well, I liked that it was overly corporate from the start, so they could smash that right from the beginning. I'm always a fan of that. I like the fact that the ghosts don't act like ghosts. I thought that was a neat twist right from the start. That you think they're ghosts, and then they're picking up power tools, and they're like, "Well, how's that supposed to be happening?" Like, so clearly they're not what they seem to be, but they're also kind of ghosts anyway. So it's just an interesting how they play with that. I like the Doctor being cocky about being able to speak sign language, and then it turns out I must have deleted that for semaphore. So that's a good line. I also playing around with the fact that the ghosts only come out with artificial light at night, which was interesting. Although you'd think just keep the lights on all the time, then like just keep it daytime all the time, like
right.
Although obviously later the AI is doing otherwise. Who's in charge so I know who to ignore is something I'm going to try to work into my daily routine because that's just great. And then I'm sure I'll beat you guys to it on the whole thing with the cards where he's very enthused because he can figure this all out. And they're like, wait, these are real people we work with. And he has to get cards out. And then Whithouse sneaks in the Aberdeen thing from school reunion, which I was like, well played, sir.
I'm sorry I left you in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reference to his own work. Nicely done.
Yeah.
He does capture how alien Capaldi is in this, like better than some do. Like he's funny, and this is sort of midway between cranky Capaldi and more friendly Capaldi, but he kind of gets the aloofness of him pretty much down. I said in this one, figuring out what the ghosts are is much more interesting than actually the people that you're hanging out with, which is unfortunate because they're not terrible characters, but they're just kind of the stock base under siege people, really. And
I'm gonna push back on that. The fact that they had like not only a deaf character, but also like she's basically the commander after the
but I didn't find any of them interesting, including her. So I mean, as characters.
I thought
it's
it was
neat that they did that,
fascinating.
but it didn't just kind of grab me like the characters, like how all the different characters in God Complex, they're all very interesting and have different motivations and they have real personalities. I mean, other than that, yeah, okay, she's got that sort of side to her, which they haven't done before, which is great. But it doesn't. I didn't think that any of the characters really had that much personality compared to the ones in God Complex, for instance. At least they didn't grab me as much.
Right. Well, perhaps. I thought it was. I thought it was it was a push for Doctor Who to have a much more diverse.
Which is all fine, but whether the character's interesting or not is another story. So
I thought it made for some great drama. The fact that she couldn't hear, and in episode 2, when she's sort of like something's behind me, I think, and sort of feels the ground, and then we cut back from her perspective to the guy dragging the axe along the ground. I was like, oh, this is terrific horror movie stuff.
And the fact that she can read the lips faster than anybody else, so she'll know what the hell is going on, but has a hard time telling people, or has to go through another guy to do it. And
I also love that the doctor just assumes that he can read sign language, and then he just thinks, nice. Go ahead. It's like, oh, I deleted it for semaphore, which is get some flags, and I can understand that.
So that is good, but this whole crew did not grab me like the other crew in God Complex did. I guess is a better way to put it.
Okay.
The idea of the words being an earworm is a neat idea. Because as is the idea of a clockwork squirrel, because I can just see Capaldi building one for no particularly good reason. I really love the line, "How do you go back in time?" Extremely well.
Yeah. God, I miss the 12th Doctor and Clara so much. I love that Doctor companion duo. And whenever we do one of these little mini scopes where we're watching a director or a writer or something, I'm just reminded about how, like, this is, to me anyway, it's my new series version of Tom Baker, Liz Sladen. I just like it's that perfect duo. I just think they're great together.
Yeah, they are quite good. Yeah, it's a decent enough Base Under Siege story, but I've seen better Base Under Siege stories. Where it gets interesting is in Before the Flood, which I'm not sure I fully understand, although there was the 4th of 4 that I watched today, so I was kind of losing the plot a little bit.
Right.
But having said that, I like the fact that they go back in time so you can figure out what's going on, which adds all sorts of trouble, but also adds the fact that they're talking about stuff that's happening in the future via FaceTime in the past, which what I said was, unlike almost every other horror movie where a phone would solve everything, this doesn't solve everything, but it does give you new ways to tell the story, and it also is something that moves the plot forward. Almost everything else, like if Jason's coming after you, just call the cops. Right, so you have to have the signal not working or whatever, and that's why almost every time signals are not worth a damn, or people forgot their phones, or they get destroyed right away, or whatever in a horror film because they're a liability. They've pretty much ruined horror, or could. Whereas here, I guess they couldn't really do this unless it's time travel or whatever. But it's interesting because you've got two bases under siege, essentially. Like, you've got dueling haunted houses, more or less. And you've got the connection of them being that FaceTime call, which is kind of nuts that you can now do that sort of thing. And they did, which I thought was really interesting. And
not only do they go back in time, they go back in time twice. Because they go, just, it was a half an hour earlier or whatever it was, so they could observe all the stuff that happens from the first time they actually were there.
Yeah.
So a little extra layer.
The Fisher King's got a great line where he says something along the lines of, "You people were nothing but timid curators until you realized you had teeth and you became the most warlike people in the universe." And I'm like, that's a pretty good summation of the Time Lords. Yeah, there's really no way to argue that one. I wasn't entirely sure what the hell was going on with the Fisher King, because he just kind of, to me, sort of popped out of nowhere. It's like, oh, here's the Fisher King. He's the alien. Okay, sure, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was actually a quite spooky alien.
It's a spooky alien. It's a well-designed alien, but I just didn't quite get... Like, I found that in Heaven Sent, the clockwork death thing, whatever it is.
The veil.
The veil, thank you. That to me was much more effective than this guy was. Maybe it's because he didn't talk, I don't know. But if you're going to talk giant lumbering beasts who are threatening the Doctor, I'll take the veil over this guy.
Yeah.
Not that that's Toby Whithouse's fault.
No, but the veil also had a much bigger role to play because it was the only other character in the entire story.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Too true.
I said the Doctor causing the flood is a pretty Moffat move, frankly. And then all the other stuff spilling out from that.
I think it's a very Doctor move. I wouldn't say it's a Moffat move per se.
Moffat tended to do it more than RTD, I guess.
Well, I will point you to the Day of the Daleks, sir.
All right, well, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. I can.
You have to take this up with Louis Marks, please. Thank you.
I will. Indeed, right after this episode, I will conduct a seance. Unless he's alive.
No, I know he's dead, sadly.
Okay, well, a seance it is then. I think I wrote a complete nothing to do with Toby Whithouse note. I miss the Capaldi TARDIS and the flexibility of shooting inside it. It's easily my favorite new series TARDIS, I think, especially his version of it.
I adore the cold open of episode 2. Not like we don't pick up like here's what happened last week. It's the Doctor talking to the camera, directly to the viewer, explaining about the bootstrap paradox while playing on guitar. I thought, what an ingenious beginning to an episode. And
they never justified either. They never go, oh, by the way, here's why he's talking to the...
No, we don't.
Just do happening tough.
It's just wonderful. Yeah. That was such a great moment. And then, of course, the guitar goes into the opening credits, which I'm not too sure is a Toby Whithouse written thing. Who knows? But I thought it was just genius, I thought. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Warren, on your...
That's pretty much it. That's my observations of those two stories, which I think also kind of... What came before this? Because I get the feeling that this kind of fell in the same hole as Vampires of Venice.
Sorcerer's...
Magician's Apprentice.
Versus Sorcerer's Familiar.
So I mean, it's very different than those. Yeah. But I get the feeling it didn't, at least in my head anyway, it kind of missed out a bit because you have every Dalek in the world and a bunch of Missy shenanigans, and then this comes in and it's much different, and maybe it kind of got neglected a bit by me because of that. I'm guessing because I seem to like it more this time than I did last time.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I'm on Chris's side. This is such a great two-parter. I miss that. I kind of like that whole season of mostly two-parters. I thought that was a great way of telling large, complex stories without having to sort of smash them into a 50-minute kind of structure. So yeah, Chris, this is your time. This is your time to talk about the story, why you like it so much.
I mean, I've said in past probably many times why I like it so much, but yeah, the base Under Siege I love. I do like the characters. Definitely like the characters. I like their interactions and camaraderie and what was it, Lun? Harboring these feelings for Cass and at the end of the story gets to share his feelings and all that. But yeah, we have another Tavolian, which is it's nice to see that because he's a little Weasley Undertaker dude, right? And I do like the Fisher King, both the look and all that. And the guy who played the Fisher King was until his death the tallest man in Britain. Died at a very young age, like late 30s, early 40s.
Pouring one out for your bros.
More or less. Although he was much taller than I. Corey Johnson, of course, doing the scream. Corey Johnson's the lead singer of Slipknot, doing the scream for the Fisher King. I love that. All of this has nothing to do with Toby Whithouse, of course.
None
but no, like just you talked about the cold open for part 2. I'll talk about the cliffhanger for part 1. The Doctor showing up in the water in the ghost form.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
And he's not saying the same things as the rest of the people. He's listening off, the order of people dying. So it's a little twist where they can further the plot that way. Clara, love the cards, love the flashcards so much. Right. I mean, I can't get enough of that. Her outfit as well. That's one of my favorite outfits of hers, the yellow and brown. I don't know. I just lapped it up when it came out in 2015, and I've just always liked it. And like I said, I for whatever reason, I still think of it as my favorite for Series 9, even above Heaven Sent.
Man, that's lofty. That's lofty right there.
Yeah, it's not that, or at least I guess perhaps when I take Heaven Sent and Hellbent as a pair, Heaven Sent gets diminished as a result. But no, it's just my favorite of Series 9, and I love Capaldi so much, and it's I don't know. I'm not even doing cohesive thoughts here. Yeah. It's just great. I love it.
It's really good. The plotting is tremendous, as you say, like the jumping back in time, the jumping back in time again. I thought is very, very clever. Usually it's befitting of Moffat.
And that's the kind of thing the Doctor tries to avoid as well. You look at Father's Day, for example, and how that turned out by allowing that to happen. So
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Wow, you got the good episodes there, Warren. You lucked out.
I sure
you got
did.
the two-parter, and then we had to finish with The Lie of the Land, which I gather is I don't know about us, but I know a few people out there who are not that big of fans of the Monk trilogy, but in particular this episode. Before we dive into this, let's just say a little bit about what happened with that. Is that Extremis was a story, and then the episodes that were going to come after that was a two-part monk story, as written by Peter Harness, and all of a sudden the monks were brought forward to appear in Extremis, and thus the way they were sort of introduced and dealt with at the end of Peter Harness's two-parter meant it wasn't going to work anymore. So basically, Harness's story was completely changed and into a one-part story, and the ending had to be not quickly written and arranged and stuff, but certainly it was not the intended way. It certainly had to be rejiggered, and it was not the intended way to end the trilogy, I don't think. So Toby Whithouse was brought in to write it. I have seen the first draft of that episode. I think the sixth draft is on the BBC Writers' Room website.
Just to throw it out there as well. The scripts for Under the Lake and Before the Flood are also on the BBC Writers' Room website. So just do a Google search. We've talked about the site in the past and scripts they put up for Doctor Who. Just Google search BBC Writers' Room Doctor Who, and you'll get taken straight there. But it was for Before the Lake, Under the Flood. It was the shooting script, I think it was, for each of them.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't remember off the top of my head if it's a shooting script for Lie of the Land or not.
It is. It's dated the 22nd of November of 2016. The one I have is dated September of 2016. They eventually started shooting at the second week of January, rather. And so that's the origin of that. It was I actually watched The Lie of the Land reading along with that first draft, and it's amazing how much was the same, like almost word for word for a good chunks of it. But it's fascinating to see, and this is why we do these miniscopes, is that we, it's one thing to sort of say, oh, that was crap, this was good, and not really, just assume that was the intention, that we didn't like it. But it's fascinating to see what changes behind the scenes, and also what changes in post-production as well, because yes, the script is important, but I was looking at some of the scenes in the dialogue, and I could tell that parts of it were sort of changed, and I bet you, they probably moved that in to editing and sort of moved it around, and because it made a little more sense, this part of the script than anything else. There's a whole part with I think there's a Bill speech which takes place basically, or no, it's a doctor speech that takes place. But it's been added after the fact. You can tell that because it's not in that first draft, and there's a voiceover over footage throughout most of it before it finally cuts back to the actual script, where Peter Capaldi picks it up again. So it was just fascinating to see how and where things are added, and how it's not always done, rather, when the actual episode is being written properly. The script is a very fluid thing, is what I've learned for this. I don't know if that explains why The Lie of the Land is perhaps unpopular with a lot of people, but I guess we'll see when we ask you, Chris, what your thoughts on The Lie of the Land is.
The Lie of the Land, which received the lowest ratings of any Doctor Who story in many years, if not ever. I like it.
Yay!
Sorry, I like it.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting what that was a lead up to.
Yeah.
I do like it. The Monk trilogy is not without its flaws. Simply put, I mean that's not exactly breaking new ground.
I think the monks are the main part. That's the problem, frankly.
Well, I think it was in whichever thing. It must be the one on the BBC Writers' Room site. There's a little thing in there, the montage at the start with like the Doctor's voiceover and whatnot, and I think there's a little thing in the script talking about how up to this point in time the monks are never seen from the front. They're just like blurred or silhouette or whatever, and now we actually see them, and which is fine. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what this says my taste or my taste relative to other people or whatever. But okay. So number one, I love titles that have dual meanings. So Bill is doing her best to remember that the monks have only been there for 6 months, and trying to keep things straight in her head, and not knowing what's fantasy and what's reality. So she is constantly trying to get the lie of the land so that she knows, has her bearings. And secondarily, of course, the monks being there since the dawn of history is the lie of the land, where it's completely factless. So I mean that I love that kind of stuff right off the bat. But Bill creating a version in her mind of her mother, so she has somebody to talk to, so she has somebody to work through the confusion in her mind, to borrow another Doctor Who phrase. I like that a lot, and I don't know that it needed to form the basis of the resolution inside, like the master control room, but it works insofar as it's part of, the door is opened and the door is closed. I liked the scene on the boat once Bill and Nardole finally get past security and the monks and all that kind of stuff, before you realize the guards are in league with the Doctor, etc. The confrontation between Bill and the Doctor is just phenomenal. I don't know what I can say about that, because it's just so powerful. And how can it be called anything but when it kind of culminates with Bill grabbing a pistol off one of the guards and shooting the Doctor, and Regenergy starts flowing out of him and all that kind of stuff. Like it was. Like, you can sit there and you can hold your breath, just in tension of what's happening.
A lot of people found that whole scene to be a problem, just because they felt it very unnecessarily cruel to Bill. Not necessarily, maybe not the pushing her to that moment, but perhaps the laughing afterwards, like, "Oh, we're just playing a joke on you" and stuff. Of course, we're not doing that. It did seem kind of.
Oh, it is cruel. It is cruel to Bill, and especially, like, even before the reveal, where the doctor, she talks about the fish creature under the Seine in Paris, and the Doctor's like, "This is a coded message. The fish creature was actually under the Thames. She's trying to, whatever.
Yeah.
She's trying to, call me out. Yeah, it's incredibly cruel to Bill. Whether how it works out is justified or not, I don't know. I guess that's definitely open to interpretation, but cruel to her or not, I just because they're neither of them can trust each other at that point in time. Each of them are trying to suss out, are they legitimately in league with the monks, or their mind taken over, and even Bill's. And I can't remember if it was her conversation with Nardole or with her mother. But she even talks about how she made the bargain with the monks at the end of the pyramid, at the end of the world. And then, nothing that she expected to happen happened. Like, she was kind of forgotten about and left alone. And people would look at her, and then they'd start, just go on with their business or something. Whereas you would kind of expect her to be this, I don't know, this focal point, this central figure that all the monks would and should know, and maybe would either treat her better or worse, or I don't know. But I'm sorry, I liked it. Yeah. The Wayne Yip directing this did not hurt one iota.
Right. The one scene that we really liked, I think we all liked, is that the basically the attack on the monks, where we hear it ever so vaguely in the background, and we can see the actions going on with the battle and sort of like the weird electricity and the web things that the monks are spinning and everything. But we only hear basically Bill's voice on the tape recorders and stuff. That was all in the script. I just assumed that would sort of
really
happen during the editing or directing process. But I believe it was Wayne Yip told us in an interview shortly after that episode aired. Yeah, that was 100% in the script. So good job, Toby Whithouse, in knowing exactly what he was wanting out of that scene and making it a lot more visually and interesting. I love it when narration happens over top of another scene where you don't have to get narration then scene. You can have it over the top. If the actual battle is not the important thing, the main point of that is to get inside, and that's where the main part of the story will actually happen. Then you shouldn't have to dwell on such a thing, but it should still be given sort of a pride of place and a place of importance in the story, and that's a perfect way of doing it. And I just thought that was really clever.
Pearl Mackie gets to put on a master class in this episode as well.
She's such a good actress. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anything else, Chris? I felt like I was cut you off. Things. I know you got a lot to say about this episode that you liked. So
I do like it. Like just even the scenes like leading. So we're talking about like the battle against the monks. Like even the scene leading up to it, where they're like going down the street and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I just love this thing. And it's not that I don't get or understand the flip side of the coin, where a lot of people are not enjoying it, but it spoke to me. It worked for me, and you said it's kind of rare that I'm as positive as I have been tonight, and that's 3 for 3 in my books, and I not unlike Town Called Mercy and Vampires of Venice, I definitely enjoyed this more afterward, more than I did on the first viewing, and like the Missy stuff and what Missy says has to be done in order to beat the monks, and the doctor pussyfoots around things, and Bill realizes that she is the one that has to die to satisfy the scenario the master presents, and I don't know. I just really enjoy it.
Well, I'm happy. I actually quite enjoy it too. And speaking of Michelle Gomez, I love that in the first draft of the script and the tone draft of the script some 3 months later, there's a whole large portion of stuff that Michelle Gomez does that is quite obviously just Michelle Gomez being Missy, because she is just fab. Like, I love the bit where, he hasn't come to visit me for 6 months, and Bill goes 6 months, and she mouths 6 months. They're just like little touches like that in the performance.
Delightfully insane, yes.
Oh, she was just a perfect fit for that character. Was Michelle Gomez.
I want Missy to come back. I don't know if she meshes with 13, but I want her to come back anyway.
Oh, man, I don't know. I feel like, the Master and Doctor are very much keyed towards their specific regenerations.
Yeah, that's true.
I find that it would be such a weird thing to. We saw John Sim against Peter Capaldi. It just felt like this feels weird. I don't know if I agree with this in a way, looking back at it, but because it's taken away from PCAP and Missy time. So I'm not too sure if. But it would be kind of cool. Who knows? Anyway, Warren, your thoughts, Lie of the Land at all? Any?
The whole Monk trilogy is kind of a mishmash to me, and that's because the sum of the parts doesn't add up to, there's good bits to all of it, but the weakest part of the whole thing is the monks. The best way to put it is, like, you see the Weeping Angels, you're like, okay, these guys are the bomb. You see the Silence, you're like, oh, these guys are a big deal. You see the monks, you're like, I think I know why they were trying to make them a big deal, but they didn't succeed. They're just kind of these pruny dudes who are just kind of hanging around. Like, they just don't have the oomph, and since this whole thing is centered around them, that kind of drags the whole thing down as far as I'm concerned. Like, they may as well be the Silence again, basically. If they were, but the Silence are cooler. Yeah, the Silence are mysterious and interesting. These guys are just jerks in robes. Like,
pretty much it. I think they should have been the Silence, perhaps, in retrospect. That would have been kind of interesting. To bring them back a little bit and make them a little more effective, perhaps, than the monks were. So, yeah. Especially since they're not ever really mentioned ever again in the whole show.
Which makes sense in the story, because they've been erased. So, yeah.
Yeah. But hey,
From-
it was
for your perspective, Stephen. I know you rate Extremis quite poorly.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
And that's the opposite. That's actually the one I like the most. I like all the setup, and then it kind of goes downhill from there.
I'm not surprised. A lot of people like that. So
Yeah, so in your mind, it gets better as the trilogy goes along. Then, yeah.
possibly, I think, yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's I hope one day I come around on Extremis. A lot of people seem to rate that one pretty highly, but I don't know.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's fun. I wouldn't say it's great. It's just fun.
It might be a pacing issue, to be honest with that. It might not even be down to writing, or maybe it is. Maybe it is a little overly complex for its own good. I'm not too sure, but well, we're covering that another day, or even at all. I'm not too sure if that one is even represented in the Miniscope. Daniel Nettheim, did we talk about that already? I think we already did. We did a Daniel Nettheim Miniscope, didn't we? Gosh. Yeah,
I would have to look it up, quite frankly, which I can easily do.
You can easily do.
Because Extremis was written by
Mr. Stephen Moffat.
Stephen Moffat. I mean, that's something we'll maybe tackle at some point in time.
Showrunners are difficult, man. When you
Daniel
do a
Nettheim.
Miniscope.
Yeah, Daniel Nettheim is not on
The Miniscope,
the Miniscope list.
I figure we did one relatively recently, and that's why, because I watched it for that, and I was disappointed that I didn't like it again. So maybe maybe when we do our 20th anniversary retrospective on Extremis and only Extremis, will I come around on that story. But Toby Whithouse didn't write that, and he wrote these episodes of Doctor Who, and I dare say I think we quite enjoyed him. And this is the point of the podcast where we say, hey, we would like to see him come back and do more on Doctor Who. I think that's quite obvious.
Yeah, definitely,
There was a time, dear listener, when Stephen Moffat had written The Wedding of River Song and sort of thought as his swan song, his finale in Doctor Who, and that someone else would come up and be the new showrunner and everything. But the BBC had Chris Chibnall in mind, and he wasn't ready to go away because ITV wanted to make the third series of Broadchurch. So all of a sudden, Doctor Who was without a showrunner for a spell. And one of the names put forward for the new showrunner position, perhaps even just for a year, until Chris Chibnall is ready to take over Doctor Who for Series 11, would have been one Toby Whithouse. But it didn't go past a couple meetings apparently, and Stephen Moffat said, "Okay, I'll do one more kick at the can before Chibnall comes in and take over." I liked Series 10 enough. I especially like the TARDIS team part of it. But man, a one-off, one-season showrunner would have been a fascinating concept, and I can't think of a more intriguing writer based on the stuff that we've talked about over the past couple of weeks in Toby Whithouse to sort of say what kind of season would he have put together. You know, he had been a showrunner before with Being Human. He created the show, for crying out loud. So to see a season worth of Doctor Who from Toby Whithouse would have been interesting. And hey, maybe when Chris Chibnall shuffles off into the old Doctor Who showrunner's retirement home, maybe Toby Whithouse's name will pop up once again. Who knows?
For whatever it's worth, Daniel Nettheim, we did the Miniscope July 15th of last year.
I thought it seemed somewhat familiar.
About a year ago, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Chris Chibnall find room in his writer's room or whatever he has on the go right now, or in future seasons for Toby Whithouse too. But I definitely like to see him come back and write some Doctor Who. After all, he's done. It's amazing how relatively little he's done compared to I just assumed he's a renowned television writer, and this is not to say that he isn't, but a lot of his credits are for Doctor Who and then Being Human, and I don't think he has actually
his one
had
Torchwood.
And it's one Torchwood. I don't think he's had an actual televised credit since The Lie of the Land, oddly enough, which I find very, very strange. So I'm intrigued to see what Toby did next, or what will he do next. And here's hoping it'll be more Doctor Who. Thanks everyone for all your support of the show and listening to us yammer on about writers and directors. And no musicians. Carrie Blyton still on the board as our last standing Doctor Who incidental musician in the Miniscope. Maybe we'll get him when next we return to these segments when we're killing time in the off season between series of Doctor Who. But we'll see about that. Until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren of Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro, subscribe to us on iTunes, and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.